Live from the Findlay Toyota studio, you're listening to ESPN Las Vegas.
I'll let you know in about 10 minutes.
Very good. Very, very good. Good show today. Steve Kim will join us later this hour. The Hammer, Matt Hamilton of Up and Adams, and, of course, some guy named Herring, Caleb Herring, former UNLV quarterback. Of course, you'll hear him on UNLV broadcasts for football all year long. Willie, a little over a month away from what is a ginormous Week 0 tilt between UNLV and Memphis, not too far away from us at Allegiant Stadium.
It is wild.
Yeah, gonna move quick now.
Kickoff is right around the corner. Bro, they're reporting soon. I mean, we're going to be out at the Raiders facility soon.
Yeah, next week, right? Next week.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to think. It's amazing. It's amazing because we've done this now for, I'd say a couple of years removed from the pandemic. Maybe right around 2022. Every time around July, we go, God, it's gone by so fast. And it's just the news just keeps on coming, and the months you didn't expect it, And then when you're in a town where you have that potential Golden Knights run or the Aces are underway, obviously, it's, you just don't know what to expect.
Well, like you said, summer shortened by the VGK run to the Stanley Cup final, even though they lost.
Yeah.
Aces are one of the three best teams in the WNBA. And
are they?
I think they are still.
We might have to discuss that later.
We got a lot of WNBA talk, including the Aces are back in action against the Tempo later tonight, and the Tempo were in the news over the weekend, and we'll discuss that a little bit. Actually, 15 minutes from now, we'll discuss the Aces and the Tempo. But Willie, I think part of the reason this summer moved at the pace it did is because for 6 weeks we had the World's game in our country. The World Cup ended yesterday. And what was really an amazing weekend, the third place game that everyone was whining about in the lead up. We don't want to play it. Why do we have a third place game? Oh, there were only 10 goals. It was one of the more entertaining games ever. It's like, that's what an all-star game should look like. And it actually looked like what we strive for the American sports for an all-star game. England won 6-4. Saka with a hattie, and Bellingham had one of the more beautiful goals that you'll ever see. Golden boot clinched for Mbappe in that game as well. And then that was just the appetizer for what was, Willie, the Spain national team completed, I would argue, one of the more dominant runs we've ever seen in this tournament. And they did it in plain sight, too, which made it even more extraordinary because 0-0 draw against Cape Verde to open the tournament.
Yeah.
And everyone was like off the scent. They allow one goal the whole tournament.
Yeah.
Simone, their goalkeeper, had 10 saves the whole tournament. Emiliano Martinez of Argentina had 11 yesterday. In really just an amazing effort by him to even get the game to extra time. Spain wins 1-0. A quiet yet unbelievably dominant run to the second star for Spain.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if it was anticlimactic. I don't know, because of the way the third place game went, because there was so much expectations. The anticipation and build-up, I think, with the relationship between the United States and England, that also, because, and then I of course, have an extended relationship through the TikTok community with the UK, but it just seemed like there was a lot of excitement around the England team that wasn't necessarily expected to be where it was. I don't know how many people had in the Final Four. Now, here on the show, before the World Cup started, I predicted England to be there. I said that they were going to win it. Mm-hmm. And I was putting it on Jordan Pickford. I thought that he was going to have an outstanding tournament, and I think leading up to the semis and the finals, he was right there with Spain's goaltender. He was playing outstanding. So the way that game ended against Argentina with England, I think, took the life out of a lot of people. I mean, the excitement for the World Cup itself was still there, obviously, but there was so much talk about what England's coach did, and then 24 hours later they announced that he's coming back, and I just thought that it was just interesting the days after that one. And then I kept saying, well, which team's not going to want to be there most? England and France. It's kind of one of those things like, well, Do they have anything to play for now? Do they even do they show up? They've been eliminated, right? Do they care? The funny thing was, we had talked a couple of weeks in a row, Cofield and I, about how the Sharps were really on it, especially early on with the totals.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a text message Friday saying, hey, Sharp play 3 over -120. Well, it moved quick.
Oh, yeah.
Went 3 over -40. Then all of a sudden it was 3.5 plus whatever. So I text a friend of mine. I was like, hey, this is all that's available. I want to write this up. What do you think? And he's like, nope, the play was 3. I was like, well, maybe I'll just leave it alone then. What if it lands on 3? What if this? What if that? Lands on 10.
Yeah, he had 4 in the first half.
Yeah.
No doubt. Again, it was an exquisite offensive soccer, football, whatever we want to call it.
Have you heard from people that have said, well, that was the better game and the championship was boring because they like high-scoring games?
The title, the World Cup final, first off, Argentina played a horrific game other than Emiliano Martinez. Martinez was outstanding in every way possible. He was the only reason they got the extra time. Everyone else was awful. Messi was non-existent, which was shocking just because you never see him non-existent. Enzo Fernandez's red card was deserved. That was definitely worthy of a second yellow. I can see it, especially for people that normally don't watch. Like, for people that didn't watch this tournament, you missed out. This was an outstanding tournament. The stars were phenomenal the whole way. The high-end teams were phenomenal. If England, I think the story of, again, whenever England is relevant, especially, look, in this country, we obviously have a shared language with England. Obviously, we all know the past. We're celebrating the 250 years of no longer being a part of the British Empire. But it always does feel like there's a little bit extra juice in the English-speaking world when England makes a deep run in the World Cup. And they lost in excruciating fashion,
yes.
Argentina.
I mean, they
excruciating.
I'm convinced that England lost. You know how we always say the next day after something, a game, did so-and-so lose it or did this team win it? England lost that game. I'm convinced England won it, Argentina did not. Or England lost, Argentina did not win.
The 2 goals from Argentina in that game were spectacular, but
they
parked
goals.
They parked the bus too early.
Parked the
Parked the bus too early. That's all it was.
And not only that, but I mean, it's like an NFL team playing prevent defense.
It was worse than it was every bit as bad as that, Willie, and it might have been worse than that, especially with the ramifications. I will just say to put a bow on this tournament, which was really just spectacular. By the way, the head of the South American Federation, CONMEBOL, today tweeted out, and I don't think he was supposed to do this yet, that the tournament, obviously in 4 years, the 2030 World Cup, the main hosts are Spain, Morocco, and Portugal.
Oh.
Okay. And then, because it's the 100th anniversary of the first World Cup in 1930, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Argentina are all getting one match to host as Centenario hosts, and the CONMEBOL head kind of spoiled it that they're going to move to 64 teams next to go around.
Well,
so,
it's been part of the talk, right?
Yeah, and look, I understand why they're going to do it. And look, 48 was a massive success. They destroyed the attendance record from 1994, which they did that early in the tournament. But look,
let me ask you a quick question.
I'm all in on more games. That's my opinion on that, Willie. Go ahead.
You mentioned the 100th anniversary.
Yeah.
Shouldn't England get to host? I mean,
well,
they're credited with inventing modern soccer.
Well, here's what I'll say. The 1930 World Cup was hosted by Uruguay.
Okay.
But
they were the original host. But I'm talking about inventing the game.
Well, I will say in 2 years from now.
Okay.
In 2 years from now,
yeah,
we'll have the European Championships. The host of the European Championships, England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland.
Wales. That's where I'm going. Wales.
You're going to go to Cardiff?
Well, we've talked about when I'm going. When I go, I'm going to Wales, and I'm going to stay for quite a bit. I'm going to rent a place, and then that way I can visit the different places. But Wales, I'm convinced it just seems nice.
You know what?
The countryside.
I'm a huge fan of London. I need to see more of that country. I might go there in 2 years for this tournament, for the Euros. Very excited on that. I will say a few other things from yesterday.
Plus, I have to go see my friend Maya.
As you should.
Yeah,
as you should. You've developed an amazing community.
Yeah, but Maya and I have become I'm closer with Maya from Wales than I am with a lot of people in Las Vegas.
By the way, we'll get Q&A from Willie, your TikTok at 3:30 as well.
We got the Q&A.
We got the Q&A segment coming up a little later. We'll just put a bow on this, and we'll get back to this a little bit later. The president was in the way of the photo when they lifted the trophy. Now, Spain did put out an edited version where the president was not in the photo.
Yeah.
Willie, I'll just throw this out there, and not to be political at all. It doesn't matter who it is. It's only team members that they want in the shot when they lift the trophy. So that's why they edited it, because Infantino was kind of like a little bit away as well.
Did you see the opposite angle where he was trying to get?
He was trying to get him to move.
He was trying to pull Trump away. So I don't. Here's the thing. They wanted a picture of just the team. He hung around
and to lift the trophy. Yeah.
Yeah. Infantino was trying to get him to pull away. So. And people are going to say, well, they could have just waited and got a different one. No, it was the official lift of the trophy.
Correct.
They wanted the official lift. I personally don't think it was a shot at Trump as much as it was they wanted the original. They didn't want to redo the lift.
Correct.
It's the original. It's like the Stanley Cup. We'll start over. We'll do the Stanley Cup. Once Bettman's gone, let's do a different lift.
I'm 100% with you. I don't think that's a. Again, it was kind of ridiculous that he was standing there, but
that he wanted to be a part of it.
but that's look. It is what it is on that. And look, this was I'll put a bow on this, and then we'll hit a break. This was an absolutely tremendous tournament. The U.S. they are set up as well as any country on this planet to host this tournament, as was proven over the last 6 weeks, and we'll give Mexico, especially Mexico City, their flowers. The environment in the games at Azteca was incredible. I only heard good things about Vancouver, even Toronto in that stadium that probably was not big enough to host. It did well with hosting the games there. I hope this tournament comes back to North America in 12 years. They have a direct path to host, because South America, Africa, Europe, and Asia are all ineligible to host in 2038, which just leaves North America and Oceania, which would only be New Zealand, realistically speaking.
I'm going to leave this question with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can answer it now, or you can bring it to leave it hanging.
Maybe I'll leave it hanging.
Who were the bigger winners? Who was the bigger winner of the 2026 World Cup? The World Cup, in terms of the popularity, it grew even bigger, or the United States?
I'm going to leave that on the vine for right now.
Let it marinate.
I'm going to leave that on the vine. I'll answer that question when we get back. And also, too, when we get back, Aces taking on the Toronto Tempo. First trip north of the border for the Aces. And the Tempo were in the news. So we'll get your thoughts on what happened over the weekend as well with Angel Reese and Sandy Brondello when we get back. Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas.
You're listening to ESPN Las Vegas from the Findlay Toyota studio.
Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas. Jeff Parles, Willie Ramirez in today.
That's the rumor.
That is the rumor. James is here as well. By the way, just want to throw this out there. ESPN Las Vegas and Terribles are bringing back the summer of fun as we celebrate America 250. You'll have a chance for a great escape or some great adventures out there. And the word today, and again, you have to text in 702-364-1100, 702-364-1100. The word of the day to have a chance to be in the running this week, Southern California theme park trip is what you can be in the running for, with the code word again to 702-364-1100. The word is anthem. The word is anthem. There you go, to be in the running for potentially that wonderful trip to all the theme parks. By the way, I am off to one of the Southern California theme parks this upcoming weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
Legoland?
Nope.
Knots?
Nope.
Magic?
Get the
Ears?
Get the ears.
Are you going to wear the ears?
Yeah. So
You're going to have the special decorated ears?
So we got my wife has a cousin who lives in Australia. So they are stateside for the first time in a few years. So before they fly back to Australia from LAX, a few days in Anaheim, be nice. And they have a kid, so it'll be the first time there for the kid. Be good. Be a lot of fun. By the way, Will, you asked the question before we went to break.
Okay.
The biggest winner of the World Cup, other than Spain, who obviously you lift the trophy, get a second star on your chest. I think the public perception of this country took a huge boost because there's so much negative coverage of the U.S., especially abroad, over the last decade.
Yeah.
And 97% positive for the U.S. So I think there's a big win on an international stage for the USA. So other than the winners of the actual trophy, I think the U.S. is the second biggest winner. The U.S. as a whole, not the soccer team, just the U.S. as a whole came off very well in this tournament.
Yeah, and there's a lot of we were talking about England. There's a lot of English that when it comes to impersonate, like you know how at times you may try to impersonate someone from the UK. You have an English accent. They try to, I hear them try to, and they do it very snarkily. Mm-hmm. They're very snarky in how they try to do an American voice, and they end up coming off sounding like hillbilly. They sound like Southerners. And they're very defensive in that we call it soccer. I think that with the way that it was put on and the fact that how it was received, and you know what? You have to, I was going to say you have to give them credit for they didn't really cater to anybody's time because, like England, there was a game where it started at 1 a.m. in England and the pubs close at 2, so they kept it open till 6.
That was the Mexico game that also got delayed by weather on top of it.
But it didn't end up getting delayed.
Oh, it was delayed 1 hour. The Mexico
was it
game.
one?
Yeah, it was 1 hour. It wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be because it looked like it might be.
So
they were initially going to move it up and the whole mess, but it only got delayed.
That's right. That's right.
And that was
anyway.
Match
so
anyway.
I think that you're right in that the U.S. won more than the World Cup won.
Well, I don't know. Well, yeah,
I think it was a bigger boost for the U.S. having the World Cup here than it was for the World Cup and having it in the U.S.
And look, I also, again, have to say this. I got to credit Mexico City because that environment in Mexico City was
Northern America.
Yeah.
Northern America.
Look, it was a tremendous tournament. I will miss being able to put my television on at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday and watch whatever match happened to be on that day.
Did you catch yourself calling it football at all or soccer?
Very rarely. Very rarely. I'm disciplined when it comes to that, Willie. Very, very disciplined.
So you called it soccer.
That's one of the few things I was disciplined at. Snack-wise, not disciplined at all during this last month.
Lovely.
But hey, look, chips are good.
I was having
or crisps, as your audience in the UK.
I was having. I was finding myself chowing down on an England favorite candy, Mawams.
Oh, okay.
MAOAM, Mawams, the stripes.
I remember seeing them when I was in London. Yeah.
Terrible.
Okay.
Terrible because I took down a whole tub of them.
Oh, boy. All right. So they were delicious then. But
fantastic. The green apple's the best.
So, Willie, I want to go over to the Aces here.
Oh.
Back at it. Long layoff. Over a week after just getting run off the floor the last time they were in action against Indiana, who is seemingly founded. But, Willie, 2 East Coast games before the All-Star game comes up this weekend. Go to Toronto first, then go to D.C., two teams that the Aces are much better than. I know the tempo have had their moments this year in their inaugural season.
No. We're going to talk about this. Let's go.
So, Willie, let's just look at this tonight.
Okay.
And I will also bring up, and we'll talk about this later because I don't want to rush it.
Okay.
But Sandy Brondello, head coach, who of course was at the Liberty for a long time now, the coach of the expansion tempo.
And Phoenix before that.
She's suspended because she used the phrase protected species
Right.
when referring to Angel Reese. Obviously, that for North America has a very different connotation than what Australia is. Australia, that phrase is used for a player to get star calls, as we would refer to it in the U.S. That is obviously not what we refer to something like that in the U.S.
Well, I've never even heard it. I never
heard that phrase.
I never heard that phrase in a derogatory fashion. I've never heard anybody called that and then called out for saying that. I've never heard it used in a derogatory fashion. Have you?
I have, but it's rare. I've heard it rare.
Never heard anybody in a derogatory fashion called a protected species.
Oh, I think the second word is what some people...
Okay, so that. But what I'm saying is that the term, the phrase, I never heard it. And are we talking about this now, or are we talking about that later? Or are we you know what? Let's talk about Brondello and that with Steve Kim, because he's up on that.
Good with me.
Let's do that.
So let's look at the Aces tonight and this week.
Okay, so the Aces are going to go to Toronto, and as you mentioned, no Sandy Brondello.
Yep.
But the Temple are a team that when they came out, they came out firing. They had a lot of moxie with Brittany Sykes and with Marina Mabry and rookie Kiki Rice, and they looked really good. Where in terms of, I don't know about Golden State good like they were last year with the expansion year, but they looked as if they could be a team that could sneak in as an 8 or contend for that 8th spot. They definitely weren't going to be an expansion last place team. Then Brittany Sykes looks like she blows out her Achilles, turns out to be plantar fascia injury. Kiki Rice goes out with a grade 3 ankle sprain, and they've really suffered since because Marina Mabry just can't carry the team by herself. They have talented players, but they just don't have the supporting cast that she needs to. Marina Mabry can be a star, and she could be a star on any given night, but she can't be the star every single night. And her and Brittany Sykes having the veteran edge, having that experience, they might have formed the most dangerous backcourt because of the chip on their shoulder and the experience they brought, and one of the fastest backcourts. So since then, it's been troubling. So now with the Aces coming in, 8 days off a loss, you give me Asia Wilson and Becky Hammond and 8 days off to prepare after getting humiliated at home by the Indiana Fever against a shorthanded team that doesn't have its head coach? Oh, my. Oh, my. So it's just a good thing that they face adversity and that they're going to be hungry for a win in this one. Otherwise, I would say they might be looking ahead to Washington because Washington is no joke, okay? With Sonia Citron, the way that team has been playing, Kiki Iriafen, Shakira Austin, this is a team that, the way I just explained Toronto and being dangerous if they snuck in as that 8 seed, Washington could be a pain for one of the top 3 seeds come into the playoffs. Minnesota, if it stays the way it is right now, and Minnesota is the number 1 seed, and Washington number 18. Let's not forget that Washington beat Minnesota in the Twin Cities. So people say, yeah, well, that was midseason or before the All-Star, but it doesn't matter. This team is gaining experience. They're getting better. Minnesota, the one thing I will say, they've done what they've done without Nafisa Collier.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not, I think the Aces, if they do what they do, they're great, especially if you're a sports bettor, the Aces might be a really good play tonight. Mm-hmm. And then Washington's going to welcome them with open arms and want to close the first half of the season, the pre-All-Star last week of the season because they're past the halfway point. But they're going to want to close it in, both teams are going to be hungry on Wednesday.
10.5 tonight with the Aces on the road against the Tempo. We'll have more WNBA talk throughout the show, especially at 5 o'clock. We'll get into it a little bit more of who we think is actually the best in the league, who are the legitimate contenders. Do that at 5 o'clock. All right, coming back, we go to TikTok. Q&A time.
Q&A with TikTok. Let's go.
With Willie Ramirez and Jeff Parles on Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas.
You're listening to ESPN Las Vegas from the Findlay Toyota studio.
Back in. Jeff Parles, Willie Ramirez, our guy JD's here as well. As we now, we'll have this tomorrow as well.
We're gonna make
We're gonna have this whenever you're here.
Whenever I'm on, I'm sending over a Q&A.
So Willie's got Willie's Q&A with his TikTok community. We got a trio of questions over the next few minutes.
Yeah,
and I'll throw them at you here, Willie.
Okay.
We'll start with a question from Woody, Brighton. That's England. That's across the pond.
It is across the pond.
Which young sports star is going to dominate their sport for the next decade? Willie Ramirez.
Well, and I think for Woody, he might be, with the World Cup, he actually sent a question in last week, so I think he might be thinking soccer and football for them. But for me, in terms of, I don't think Shohei is young anymore.
He's not.
I don't know. I want to say one of two people, because I'm really I'm very high on H.A. Debonsa, but in reality, Paige Beckers is my choice for the young sports star that's going to dominate. I think she's going to surpass every rookie that's come out since 2020. That includes Caitlin Clark, and I think that she's eventually going to lead the Dallas Wings to multiple championships. I think for the next decade, I think it's going to be Paige Beckers.
You actually have the same sport as me, but I'll go to the NBA side, and I think the answer is Victor Wembanyama.
Oh,
I think that's the one where Wemby and the Spurs weren't even ready this year and still made the finals. And look, Oklahoma City, them and Oklahoma City are going to have battles over the next half decade, at least maybe longer. Who knows? It's sports. People get injured, so we'll see. But first year, Wemby made it through the whole season. He's in the finals. He's still younger than 25. That's my answer. I'm going with Wemby.
It's a good answer, and it makes a lot of sense. The thing is that there's 2 times the amount of teams that he's got to go through than Paige does.
Sure.
So,
the other one that I'll throw out there just for the international audience, Spain won the World Cup with Mr. Yamal.
Yamal is
not doing much of anything in this tournament.
He would be a great answer.
And he's only 19.
Now, who does he play for? Like, is he an EPL or was he?
No. He's Barca.
Barca. Okay, gotcha.
So, and he's got his exit clause is over €1 billion or something insane like that. So he's gonna be on Barcelona for quite a while.
Yeah.
And why would he leave?
Okay.
Why would he leave? Go in Messi's footsteps, all the way back in the day with that famous picture that we saw a ton of on social media. Second question's up here, Willie. Dylan from Florida. How can small market teams like the Reds realistically compete when big market teams like the Dodgers can simply buy their way out of drafting and developmental mistakes?
Get an owner that's ready to invest, because you're not going to complain your way out of this. You're not going to hate your way through the Dodgers and the Yankees. And the fact of the matter is, we've talked about this. It's like it would be like, how can small market teams like Pittsburgh avoid losing guys like Garrett Cole and Paul Skeens when Paul Skeens decides to leave? You're not. You're either find an owner that's going to pony up or find a new favorite team. It's just the problem is, because I don't think that they're going to cap. I don't think you're ever going to be able to. I mean, it would be very difficult, and I just don't. You can't compete. No, you can't compete with the money, but you either have to figure out a way to draw the big player or get an owner that's willing to invest and pony up the money.
So, I think the only way I'm looking at this, the new CBA, whenever that comes, will be what's quote unquote saves these
next
smaller
year,
markets,
which is next year,
assuming that they add a cap.
Right
now, again, I'm completely anti-cap in baseball. I am pro owners actually attempting to win and spending money. That's why I appreciate, again, even though Dodgers has been thrown into this villainous role, I have no issue with what they've done. I have more of an issue of Ohtani taking $670 million of the $700 million as deferred money. That's the thing that I would like to see go out of the game. Now, the problem is that's been around for a long time. Obviously, we have Bobby Bonilla Day on July 1st. Scherzer took a lot of deferred money when he went to Washington in order to win, and they won a championship there. But the smaller market teams, how about your owners do a little bit better? And if your owner is not capable of spending enough money, sell the team to someone that can, or hope that the CBA bails you out. That's pretty much, and the CBA very well will probably bail out these smaller market owners that just don't want to spend enough money or don't have enough money to own a professional sports team in 2027. All right, last one. Remy in Nashville. Which athlete do you find most annoying right now, Willie?
I mean, come on. This is a loaded question, right?
Oh, I know where you're going to go here. I think
there's only one answer, Remy. And here's the thing, her fans don't do her any favors. Her fans help her become the most annoying athlete right now, and that's Caitlin Clark, because she's also, like, if you watched her 45-point and 10-assist performance the other night, it makes her the most electric and one of the most, exciting to watch in how she can pull off a three-pointer with someone in her face, off balance, whatever it may be. But I just think with everything that's going on in the W and how, her antics don't help either. The tantrums don't. The occasional tantrums. Well, I say occasional. They seem to be happening all the time. But her antics on the court, the other night with the contusion in the thigh and the collision with Kia Stokes, and then you watch the replays. I'm going, where is the contusion? Where's the collision? Where's the knee and the thigh? And then, and if it happened that quick, we've all had someone who's taken that knuckle and hit you in the thigh, right? For the Charlie horse, right?
It hurts.
Charlie, yeah. You weren't able. She got up, she played, and then the very next play down court, she's rushing the ref and running around and not limping. Come on.
So, first off, you picking her was minus 5,000.
Yes,
at the
100%
at the JP Sportsbook.
Yes,
but for informational purposes only.
Entertainment
and informational purposes only. You know what? I'm going to go with something I would not have answered 2 days ago. But it was the entire Argentinian team except for Lionel Messi yesterday. The way that they acted in defeat was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. You were just there 4 years ago. That moment is I don't want to say once-in-a-lifetime moment, because maybe people in the Spain group will win another one because of how good some of the young talent is. But they just won the World Cup, and you're really trying to brawl with one of the bench guys. Like, just very, very, very unlikable behavior from basically every Argentinian except for Messi and the keeper yesterday, and Martinez. That was it. They were the two that were like, well, we know how it felt 4 years ago. We're gonna congratulate Spain like they did. So that's my answer. That would not have been my answer 48 hours ago, Willie.
There's a couple of us in America, and we're part of a group chat on WhatsApp with and it's kind of like the family.
Yeah.
Right. We call ourselves the family, right? And there's one phrase when someone gets on our nerves, when someone's on TikTok Live, and someone comes today, you know what the phrase is?
Go ahead.
It'd be like, if you're in there, it'd be like, Jeff, please. Jeff, please. So it's like, Argentina, please.
Child, please.
Argentina, please.
Steve Kim, coming our way next. Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas. Jeff Parles, Willie Ramirez in for Cofield, who's currently in parts unknown.
Wait, are you in for Cofield or am I in for Cofield?
I think would I be in for Cofield and then you're in for me, or you're in just your normal spot? Like, I don't know how that would technically work.
I think you're in for Cofield.
Okay,
you're the lead.
I guess so. Cofield. I guess so. All right, joining us right now, our good friend Steve Kim joins us here on a Monday. Steve, I just got to start off here because we're going to talk about it a little bit more in the 4 o'clock hour as well. What is going on with this Tom Brady midlife crisis right now?
I think it's unbecoming, and the standards you set for somebody, as I like to say, is what you think of him. And I thought he was beyond this, and we knew what was coming when he did the slap, and that looked like a work, as they say in pro wrestling. And I have a theory that all those years being cooped up in Belichickville with the Patriot way, he got a taste of freedom in Tampa Bay, being a little bit more open, and then getting a divorce. Maybe all his inhibitions have kind of been taken off, and now he's doing this. I certainly don't think it's just about the money. He's got a lot of that. But is it surprising to me that he's gone down this road? It is. And to be completely judgmental, do I think it's a great look for him? No, I do not.
Well, it's interesting because Front Office Sports, actually, there was a column in there. Mike McCartney wrote an article basically saying what you just said, Steve. It feels, for someone who has always been looked at as I would say, luxury guy, it feels very unluxury what's going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought he'd be a little different. And today on Fearless, I said maybe we expected too much. Maybe he was never going to be Roger Staubach, who just went into a complete business world and started his own financial empire of sorts. But this is a different era. This is a different era with streaming and Kick and Twitch and social media. And maybe he's wrapped up as part of it. But a lot of times people make that as a career early on. You don't expect a Hall of Famer who has stayed in the spotlight, doing the games on Fox and getting a little more comfortable on camera. But I'm not going to lie to you. If you actually see the postings that show those incidents, right, with Jake Paul, they're not being received very well. And when a staunch Patriot Tom Brady loyalist like Dave Portnoy, when they have an issue with it, and you can't ever say that he was against Tom Brady, he probably reveres him as an athlete, I think that is very, very telling.
Speaking with Steve Kim, boy, when you talk about somebody who's always been a staunch supporter of somebody, Jason Whitlock, has he shifted gears on Caitlin Clark?
He just flip-flops. He's flip-flop. It's amazing. It's just like, geez, it's like the emotional roller coaster. We all got to hold on. As far as I'm concerned, we can stop pretending to care about soccer, something I never did. And now it's, within a week or two, football training camps are opening up all across the country. We need to get down to the real business and stop torturing the audience. But there is a following. It's a fascinating story for what it is. I don't know exactly if he's back on the bandwagon after that 45-point outburst this past weekend. Then Angel Reese, she did her thing, which now Jason has to flip-flop again because she was lauding her a week and a half ago for her new maturity. Right. So I don't even know what to think. Look, Jason, he likes this story. He likes this subject. We're all along for the ride.
All right, so speaking of Angel Reese, Sandy Brondello, she makes a comment where in her country it's nothing. In America, you use the word species. It's obviously something. Where are you at with this?
I'm with most sane people. I think it's very unfortunate. I don't think it's fair, but this is part of the world that we live in. And, the very same system that you're a part of, that you may have supported, eventually will eat you because you're not allowed to say one thing they do not approve of. So, when I heard about it, I thought it was very strange, but, look, Angel was going to milk this for what it was to begin with. That is her grift. This is what she does. That is part of her brand. It'll probably be rewarded in a certain aspect, but it's also one of the reasons why this league will always be limiting. It's just going to alienate too many people in certain segments of society. So none of this is surprising.
Does it rank, or where does it rank with Howard Cosell's now obviously decades-long notorious comment?
Well, I mean, if you can't compare the WNBA to Howard Cosell, Howard was much more important and much more popular. And look, that was I don't know if off the cuff, but it was a comment made at some WNBA function. What he said about Alvin Garrett in 1983, I mean, that had a much larger audience. That was on Monday Night Football. I think it was the opening game. I think of the 83 season, and that was a big story.
Well, this was wait. This wasn't at a function. This was at a game where a broadcast mic picked her up yelling at the ref.
Oh, okay, well, yeah. That's a function, but again, it's a WNBA game. No offense, Willie, no one cares. I mean, people care about Monday Night Football. I will guarantee you the audience that night was much greater than it was for that game.
Well, that was when Nielsen's, they were the number one show in primetime.
Right, by far. So, I don't even think that lady understood what she was saying. I don't think she meant any harm. Unfortunately, it played out the way it did because that is the league she's involved in.
Steve Kim with us right now. Steve, real quick, going to boxing real quick. Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn, fiery news conference there yesterday.
Yeah, that was almost as cringe as Tom Brady and Jake Paul. I've already seen the best boxing I'm going to see. Good luck to him. The fight will be the fight. September 12th, my focus will be on college football in Texas, Oklahoma, or Texas, Ohio State, actually. in Austin and plenty of other games. And, later that night I'll flip it on to Paramount Plus. I don't think much of the fight in terms of the worthiness. I don't think either guy's really a great welterweight, but one of them has a belt, so I guess that matters. And they're going to put on a show, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just an old bitter guy, but I got to tell you, a lot of that stuff is just really cringe, absolutely cringe-worthy.
Steve, you just brought up college football, so I got to go there. ACC Media Days last week. Miami, to me, has the second best roster in the country, maybe even the best roster in the country going into this year. How are you feeling about your Canes going into 2026?
Well, look, this is on Mario Cristobal now. He's done an unbelievable job of building this program. Kane, very close to winning the national title. Now he's got to go undefeated in the ACC. There can be no more than one loss, and that loss, most likely, if there's going to be one, has to be November 7th. But if there's ever going to be a year where you rampage through an ACC and win that conference, it's got to be this year. And so, Mario coming in second place is a great achievement, but it's not what he's here for. So his job is to come out there and dominate the ACC, win that title, and make sure that come Selection Sunday, Miami's not hoping, begging, and praying that they make the playoffs. You win that ACC with the new rules, you are automatically in that postseason tournament. That is the goal.
Well, and obviously they're going to have a top talented offense, right? Especially with one of the top returning quarterbacks. But they bring in Missouri transfer Damon Wilson to a defense that already had 6 starters coming back. How big of a difference does he make?
Well, he'll make a big difference because, you're missing Reuben Bain, and he was one of the better pass rushers in the SEC. And the expectation is under the tutelage of Jason Taylor, he'll be a more physical player at the point of attack against the run. And I think that's the one thing with Bain. Bain and Messidor are really good setting the edge. And offensively, the team should probably score 40 points a game based on the schedule they're playing. But, Damon Wilson was a key piece of this offseason, and they've recruited well, Willie, up front defensively. They should be able to rotate in at least 9-10 defensive linemen across the board, very deep at the cornerback position. The one question I think most Miami fans have is the offensive line. They're breaking in 4 new starters, and this is where Alex Mirabel, who is lauded as one of the best offensive line coaches in the country, he has to formulate a new unit. And I think the season really starts, guys, first week of October. They still have to go to Death Valley and Clemson. And I'm very curious to see how they react that particular weekend.
Steve Kim, you always hear him on Monday here on Cofield and Company. Thank you for joining us today, Steve.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
of course, Steve Kim. I think the Canes are going to be awesome this year, Willie. Really, really do. Big 4 at 4 when we get back. Cofield and Company.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
4 o'clock hour. Jeff Parles, Willie Ramirez, Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas, and we welcome in the Reno office as well. Willie, good first hour. Fun first hour. Always fun to check in with our guy, Steve Kim. We'll have Matt Hamilton of Up and Adams joining us a little bit later on the program, about 45 minutes from now. But as we begin the 4 o'clock hour, it's Big 4 at 4 time.
Battleborn Injury Lawyers presents the Big 4 at 4. Number 4.
All right. I'm going to piggyback what my first question was to Steve Kim. Where Tom Brady, it feels like someone who is in a midlife crisis right now. And you have this whole thing at Fanatics Fest where Tim and Logan Paul just beefing at each other, basically, and Brady puts together what was just honestly, a pretty lame-looking slap, for lack of a better way to put it. Gets Logan Paul. Karl Anthony Towns is just confused, even though it was clearly a stage slap in the background. Then the two of them were at the World Cup final yesterday, Logan Paul, that is, and Tom Brady, and we're just flipping each other the bird, and Brady was smiling through the whole thing. And then there's the report today from TMZ, Willie, that Brady and WWE are been negotiating a potential contract to work together. And Willie, I go back to what Steve Kim said, and there was a really good article on Front Office Sports earlier today as an opinion piece that Tom Brady should be above what basically pro wrestling and WWE and should not be stooping to the level of the Paul brothers. And I am completely in agreement. I am completely in agreement that Tom Brady had built up a legacy of the highest brands, the ultimate winner. He won a championship without Belichick. And he did it in Tampa. Look, I know Tampa has an early 2000 Super Bowl championship, but that was a one-off. He went to a loser franchise and won a title in year one to have the most rings, more rings than Double B. And I just don't understand this from Brady's perspective. And quite frankly, if I'm the NFL, I'm a little bit annoyed. He's a big part of this Raiders franchise out here in Vegas. He is the number one analyst on Fox. Don't stoop to the Paul brothers level. I'm sorry. He should be above that. I really do believe that. I'm very curious based off the facial expressions you gave me through that whole thing. I'm very curious.
Out of the words of my good friends in the UK,
yeah,
bun you and bun the FOS. First of all,
that's the most polite way I've ever been told.
The legacy that he has built in the NFL will not be tarnished. The NFL in general should worry more about its own brand than worry about what he's going to do. It's not going to tarnish the shield. And you know what? Why does it have to be a midlife crisis? If he's retired and he's having, maybe he's just having fun after spending his entire life. Realistically, if he played Pop Warner football or youth football, and then college at Michigan, and then playing for the Patriots, and then to the Buccaneers, he spent his entire life disciplined to his body and regiment, and maybe out of 12 months of the year, okay, because you figure there's the May camp, the July camp, and then you get into training camp, and then preseason, and then you're going, and with as much as he was playing all the way through January and sometimes February, so what did he have off? March and April, realistically.
And
two
May.
times in
and
how?
May.
Yeah, but they're having to report at least once during. But nevertheless,
sure.
You're still having to keep your body in check. Okay, maybe he's just having a little fun. Why does it have to be a crisis? He's not going through anything. Maybe he's just having fun. Besides, have you seen what the dude puts in his body? He eats immaculate. He treats his body still like a temple. The dude is still in shape. I bet you he could play better than the 32nd best quarterback right now. He might get hit and get a bone broken, but my point is, if that's what he wants to do to have fun, I don't think it's because he's having a crisis. I think he's just having fun, and he's just having a good time. I don't think he's trying to prove anything to anybody, and just let him be. And it's not for the money. Steve Kim said that. Who cares? And by the way, stoop. Vince McMahon built. I remember when I was a kid, it was AWA, and it was WCW, and then it went to WWF, and then it was WWE. They built this empire. They're billionaires. It's not all fooling anybody. The Paul brothers are one thing. Yeah, they're trying to ride the coattails of a sport. But WWE, we're past the years of calling it fake. ESPN's they're on there. When WrestleMania, they spend the week on all the shows. They're in partnership with them. It's a business. He's having fun. Let the guy have some fun. Who cares?
I think a big part of this, too, and the Barstool guys actually brought this up this morning, and I think this plays a role in the opinion I have. He is not a good actor. He is not a good actor.
Now, here's my prediction.
If he was a better actor, I think there'd be a better way of pulling this off. But I think he was grinning ear to ear like he's supposed to be mad as heck at Logan Paul with the double bird thing at the World Cup final yesterday, and he's smiling ear to ear. Like, if you're going to do this, at least play the part right.
Well, I don't remember what happened earlier this year, but I know I was on this show and I was like, hey, how about this? Allegiant Stadium, WrestleMania. I'm calling it now. Tom Brady is going to be a part of.
Sure.
Of course, he wasn't.
Right.
But here it is, and it's something that I had said. But here will be my prediction, though. Both Paul brothers will get involved, and Brady will get Gronk involved.
It wouldn't shock me.
And then that'll. I mean, come on, bro. For the entertainment value, it's kind of funny. It's kind of cool. It's kind of entertaining. Yeah.
Patton
You know
Lee.
what? You know what? If it happens and you tell me that you don't read one headline, you don't look at one headline, you may not buy the pay-per-view. You tell me that you're not going to just check in to see what happened. You're a liar. I'm telling you now. Because of the entertainment value, we're all going to be. It's kind of like the whole. Every time Adam Hill summed it up best. Every time we watch which one is it that does the boxing?
Jake.
Every time Jake Paul does a fight, we swear we're not going to watch the next one until we watch the next one.
I will say, I watched the Tyson one. That's the only one I've watched.
I've never watched it.
I watched the Tyson one. I was more intrigued by Tyson than I was Jake Paul. And now I just want to see what Tyson was at that age and going into the ring, guy 40 years younger than him.
Number 3.
So, SEC Media Days today down in the Deep South. Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, clearly annoyed with the Save College Sports bill that's been floating around Washington. I still don't think it'll pass, but regardless, that there have been, quote, honest conversations about the SEC breaking away from the rest of college athletics if this thing with the Save College Sports bill does not go their way. Now, there have been threats from the SEC and the Big Ten in the recent years over this, and there are things that I just don't think will get through Congress. And look, a lot of things don't get through Congress these days. And I think this will just inevitably be another bill that doesn't get through. But at some point, Willie, if this keeps getting said out loud, it's going to happen. And Justin Watkins has brought this up when he's been up with us on Wednesdays, that in a few years that this could happen. And again, I just hope everyone is prepared for that moment where the SEC and the Big Ten and maybe the Big 12 and the ACC, and they create this big jumbo 66 or whatever it is, and hope everyone is ready for that, because I still think we're heading that way, unfortunately. Really do.
Well, I mean, I think part of it too is the NC2A is still, I think, no matter how much you want to, it's still the enemy. And I think there's a part of it. I think the part of it is that, everybody thinks they can do better than the NC2A. Everybody think, so if in fact the SEC does that, it's a matter of who's following. And if they were to do that Super 64, which teams, and then which conferences do they lose? And if it happens, I mean, it's just going to be a different form of some association. You're gonna go from an NC2A to just a monster conference, which is then going to be treated like an associate. And I don't want to call it like the NC2A. But
it'll be pretty close though. It's in the same vein.
It'll be a something association.
Yeah, it's the same vein.
Yeah. So
hey, look, again, a lot of these media days, some stuff is really good. Some stuff is just continuing to push your narrative, and it's kind of what it is with the SEC and Greg Sankey.
Number 2.
All right. More from SEC Media Days. And this comes from the head coach of my alma mater here. And that's...
Did I know you were...
Yeah, I went to... I don't know if you knew that or not. I went to...
Tiger Fountain, baby.
Yeah, I was...
Love Tiger Fountain.
Yeah. Jumped in that at the end of the... after graduating.
I got pictures to show you from Tiger Fountain.
So Eli Drinkwitz...
Columbia is a beautiful campus, by the way.
Great. I think it was pretty good. It was pretty good in my few years there.
I really liked it. I did a stadium tour. Anyway, go ahead.
Regardless, sorry. I could talk about Como for a while.
It's a really nice place.
Eli Drinkwitz earlier today, by the way, good news for Mizzou. Ahmad Hardy, who was shot in the leg earlier this offseason, has been fully medically cleared, which is great news for a ton of reasons on and off the football field. Hardy is arguably the best running back in college football returning this year. He'll be ready to go week 1. Drinkwitz today said a few things. First off, all the SEC coaches hate the 9-game conference schedule, which I think is great, but that's a different discussion for a different time. But he almost credited the Big Ten winning 3 straight national championships because they have an easier non-con schedule, because they are not required to play a Power 4 team in non-conference. Now, look, I don't like bashing my own alma mater, but this is ridiculous because during Drinkwitz's tenure, Mizzou has played the likes of Boston College as the Power 4 representative, Purdue, and KU. That's Kansas, who they'll play again this year. This is more nonsense complaining, Willie. Like, come on. We need something better to complain on than that. Just ridiculous.
I don't. This guy, I get tired of hearing his name come up in stuff like this.
It happens more than it should.
Yeah, it does. It really does. I don't think that's not why the Big Ten has won as many championships as it has in a row. That's just not the reason. It has nothing to do with that. And I don't agree that it has the advantage in terms of the schedule. The SEC still. I mean, the bigger complaint. There's always something to complain about the SEC. If it's not like, well, the SEC lost 2 or 3 games, but their strength of schedule. Well, at the end of the season, you're saying that, well, they lost 2 or 3 because their strength of schedule was better. Well, now because they weren't required to play. I mean, it's always has to do with something, but they're always trying to fight. And they end up at the end of the year, the argument. Like, if we save this till next season or till the end of this season, it'll sound hypocritical.
Number 1.
We're going to chew on this topic a little bit later in the show.
Big Ten, by the way.
The NFLPA has really put on the...
This is huge.
Yeah, really putting the pressure on the NFL. Now, look, I don't think anything will happen. And Mike Florio actually had a good suggestion earlier today with this on Pro Football Talk that the NFL players want grass. They don't want the turf anymore. They want grass across the league. And later in the show, I'll bring up Florio's idea, which I actually think might be a little bit more successful to the players getting what they want with grass across the NFL.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Hey, you just heard the commercial for the text line, 702-364-1100. Again, ESPN Las Vegas and Terribles are bringing back the summer of fun as we celebrate America 250. You'll have a chance for a bit of an escape or some great adventures. The word that you need to text to 702-364-1100. The keyword of the day today is anthem. The keyword of the day is anthem. That gives you a shot to be in the running.
Anthem.
For a Southern California theme park trip.
I'm going to text it in right now.
There we go. I don't know if you and I are eligible. I don't think so.
I'm texting it from my private line.
There we go. Perfect. Willie Ramirez, Jeff Parles, our good friend JD's here as well. Matt Hamilton joins us in about 24 minutes. Talking NFL with Matt. Now, Willie.
Yes, sir.
It's kind of become comical here. We're going to circle back after this little foray into
I'm going to tell you what's become comical when you say what's comical. Go ahead.
We're now, what is this day? This is day like 24 of where will LeBron James go?
Yes.
At this point, Willie, we still don't have an answer. I don't think we'll have an answer. Even though Pat Bev, I don't know if you saw this earlier, where Pat Bev was tweeting out, oh, there's going to be a resolution today. We're going to know where he is by the end of the day. We still may. And honestly, knowing our luck, Willie, he'll announce it during a commercial break right after this segment.
He's gonna announce it at 6:01.
6:00. Actually, that would be perfect, actually. That would even be better. It would be right after, or actually, no, 5:56, even worse. Just twist the knife.
You did see all the tweets that said, just in, private jet belonging to LeBron James has touched down in Philadelphia. That's been all over, right?
That's good. They'll be like when Jay Wright was coming to coach Mizzou, and of course it was just a bunch of guys going to play golf that day. That was a good one. Yeah. So, where do you think he goes? By the way,
Cleveland.
You think he's going back home? I think he's going to Philly, and I think for a basketball perspective, he should go to Philly. But Cleveland, Miami, Philadelphia seem to be the final three.
Miami's the favorite.
They're the betting favorite right now?
They're the betting favorite. There's a website. I'm not going to get into sports books right now because some of them, you're based on your VPN, you get blocked. But I do know that Miami is the betting favorite right now at a specific book.
Mm-hmm.
I personally – well, here's the thing. I think at this point he should land where he should land for legacy. Because I don't think if he wins or loses, it does anything more or worse, to be honest with you. I really don't. I don't think if he goes somewhere and wins a title, it does anything more to enhance his legacy. I don't think that he realistically, it's not going to change. Anybody that at this point in his career that thinks Michael Jordan is the GOAT is not going to change their mind if he wins a title somewhere else. I'm sorry, they just won't. Especially if it's in Miami with Giannis, in Philly, in especially Golden State, because he's chasing with others. Now, if he goes home to Cleveland, I think it's noble. I think it's honorable. I don't know if he'll win it there, but it's not a bad team. I just think he should go there for legacy in terms of it's where he started, it's his home, and when he goes into the Hall of Fame, he should be going in with a Cavaliers uniform.
You know, it's funny. The Golden State part of it is just, I think that's the worst basketball fit of all.
It is, me
by
too.
Margin.
100%,
I think it's the worst one by margin.
I do.
I think the other three we mentioned are way better basketball fits. I have questions on Cleveland, but it's better than Golden State. And you're not, why would he, again, I've said this to Cofield a few times, why would you stay in the Western Conference if you're leaving the Lakers?
Yeah.
Unless if you're going to go to San Antonio. That would be the only one.
It's a
that
huge
seems
slap
to
in the
be.
face if you were to go to Golden State.
Yeah, no, especially.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to San Antonio. I don't think they want to go that route.
I agree with you. All right, I want to go back to what we finished off with in a big 4-4, Willie.
Okay.
Because we ran out of time because Tom Brady and WWE got both of our bloods boiling a little bit. So the NFLPA and a lot of players, including George Kittle and others, really they were at these World Cup games, including the final yesterday, and tweeting out, "Hey, look how good the pitch." We'll use the football, the international football term, looks at MetLife Stadium. Look how good it looks in Dallas. Look how good it looks in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And all these places that have turf normally. Look how good it looks. We should just have grass everywhere. And the NFL will be safer for our bodies. Someone high up at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, that's Atlanta, said we're not capable of having grass all year, which was interesting to me, but all right. The league has been steadfast in that they're not doing this. And of all places, Pro Football Talk, Mike Florio, who I have not agreed with much over the years, actually had a pretty reasonable idea for the path to potentially get this to work on the players' end. Of if you go this full, broad PR deal that they're trying to, it's not going to work when you try to do it broadly.
Okay.
And I tend to agree with him on that. Where this has been pushed in the past and the owners have pushed it aside plenty of times. I mean, the MetLife turf alone that usually claims a few victims a year because of how bad it is. But there's going to be new ownership in Seattle. Obviously, the new ownership, and $9 billion plus to get the Seahawks. Seahawks have turf usually in the regular season. They had grass, of course, as every venue did for the World Cup. Start with new ownership. Start putting the pressure on the new ownership. And I actually agree with Florio. I think this is going to happen on a case-by-case basis more so than a league-wide referendum. It is more expensive to have turf. Now, granted, I'm not going to feel bad for the NFL spending extra money on anything because look how much the NFL is worth at this point. I mean, you got a team going for $9.5 billion. Yeah, they're the defending Super Bowl champions, but come on, nine bills. Like, come on. It's ridiculous. I don't know many things in this world that should be valued at that. But I think that would be the better approach. And I do actually agree with Florio, which, again, someone I don't normally agree with. But it is one other thing that we talked about during the break that I would be concerned about. Chicago, which is a grass field, is not in the best shape. And I would be worried if they went grass league-wide that you would have some ownership groups that just don't do the job properly. That would be my only concern, and you end up with slop like you do in Chicago. But I think that this World Cup has proved that these stadiums can fit grass fields. There was even MetLife, even with MetLife being a stadium and turf that is always complained about. There were some complaints. It wasn't as perfect as the other ones, but worked out pretty well. But it just makes from a safety perspective, natural grass is safer than turf. We've known this for a long time. So I think it's just something that at some point should happen league-wide. But I think the approach of going, hey, let's start with the new ownership, and then we start applying the pressure elsewhere if that new ownership decides to say, all right, we're going to listen to you. We're going to put natural grass up in Seattle.
I 100% agree with the NFLPA.
And I have no problem with that either.
Yeah, I just think that because of the health of the players. I mean, it's well documented. Statistics show that since the implementation years ago of turf, it's just slowly, and it's just gotten worse. So they're going to have to figure out what they would do with cold weather cities, as you mentioned off the air.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue is just what's going to happen. What's going to happen in Chicago and Washington? Right now, that's not a great one. New England, as they called it in the World Cup, New York, New Jersey Stadium, which just made me laugh the whole time. We can now sponsors exist again now, right? Now that the World Cup's over, sponsors exist. We can go back to...
The tape has come off the ketchup.
We can...
The tape has come off the ketchup.
We can call it the Big Gene again in Santa Clara, at SoFi again.
No longer
in LA.
MetLife Stadium.
Oh my goodness!
Can you imagine if it was here? How much? I mean, if the World Cup was in Vegas, the games that would be here. I mean, just in general, when you're showing the strip or you're showing just different. Because the LVCVA is going to want to be involved. Like for instance, they're hiding brands, but in essence, Las Vegas is the city, but it's a brand.
Sure.
How would they have done that? That would have been wild.
Well, it would have been interesting on, like you said, the overhead shots of a city when they're going around. They would have been able to cover the logos of Allegiant pretty easily. But that is an interesting point. I didn't think of that.
The marquees, and if the marquees have ads on there or whatever, or
that's like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Or they would have done what SoFi legitimately just had rotating ads of, because I went to a game at SoFi.
Did you?
Yeah, just the rotating ads.
Who'd you go?
It was Switzerland and Bosnia-Herzegovina was the match I was at.
How much did you have on it?
I did not have a bet on that game, actually, which was kind of shocking. Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, I spent $1,000 on 2 tickets, but which was for what I had was actually a pretty good deal in the end with how much those tickets were going for in resale. Because, again, just remember, though, Willie, no one was ever going to show up to these games because the prices were too high, and every single game was sold out except for one.
Yeah,
so
packed.
Just jam-packed across the board all the way through. All right. When we get back, Willie, we're going to talk A's. It has been a brutal stretch for the A's. Bad weekend against the Nats. They start a 3-game series that you'll hear across the Las Vegas Sports Network later tonight in Arizona.
Garbage.
Not good. Not good from the A's. And also, too, Willie, the second half of the Major League Baseball season well underway. We got a lot of thoughts that we can get to as we continue on. Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Welcome back in Cofield and Company. Jeff Parles, Willie Ramirez.
Reportedly, I'm here. Reportedly.
You are. I mean, look, I was a little worried about you before the show.
I was knocked out.
You were snoring at one point.
Was that really?
Yeah.
Was there a little snore?
Yeah.
You want to know what's funny is we talk about the TikTok community. There's a thing called boxes.
Okay.
So you can go live, like we're live right now. People can see me, but there's a different one. You do voice chat only, so that's a grid, and everybody they can request to come into your boxes.
Okay.
And there's a box, and I think you could get 9 total.
Got it.
But it's just voice.
Okay.
So there are times, I think we've all done this. You wake up in the middle of the night, you can't fall back asleep. What do we do in this time, this day and age? We grab our phone. So I open up TikTok, sometimes 2 in the morning, and I fall asleep at 9. So that's 5 hours. To me, I'm like refreshed. But I'll go into, this group that I was talking about earlier, I'll go into Riley's live session and go into one of the boxes, and I'll just sit there and you're listening, and then they'll say something, and I go, yeah, uh-huh. And the next thing you know, I'll hear them say my name and go, oh, let's drop him out or mute his mic. He's snoring.
That's perfect. Well, and also, too, you have such a family on TikTok across the pond.
Well,
so that's
it's called a community.
Yeah.
They call them communities.
Okay.
But the group that we have, me and I think 3 other people that I can think of off the top of my head, I could be wrong, Dylan, Sarah, and Brittany, are in America. But the rest of them, and we're all in this group chat, and we all stick together. We call that the family. And Dia. Dia's from California. So, yeah, but anyway, yes, we call that the family, but together, the whole team, when you have supporters, it's your community, yes.
Got it.
But they have heard me snore just like you guys did before the show. Let's move on.
The A's.
Oh, my God. Let's go back to the community. Let's go back to the community.
We could go back to Willie snoring,
Let's
too.
go back to TikTok.
We could play that for you.
Yeah, because the A's are a snoring group.
It really has turned into a complete mess. 1-9 in their last 10. Worst run differential in baseball. 15 games under in a very winnable AL West that the leader right now is at 50-49 in Texas. And the A's have fallen out of this. Lose 2 out of 3 over the weekend in Sacramento against the Nats. What a weird series that was. 23-4, the A's lose on Friday. Then they flip around and win 15-1. And then a normally played baseball
when
game.
Everybody and their mother probably went in on Sunday and bet the over.
Yeah, 5-2.
5-2.
Under everything.
Yeah.
Look, Willie, we're at Cofield and I kind of talked about this the last few weeks, where I am curious to see what they do at the deadline in 11 days' time. I am curious to see what their strategy is at the deadline, where I would trade Jeff McNeil. I would trade some of your veteran. Again, Savali, they DFA'd, and technically they did get something back from earlier today when that ended up being a trade instead of just a straight release of Aaron Savali. I'm just curious because it's a weird situation with this franchise where you're coming to Vegas and a lot of the assets that others would want are youthful young players that you cannot justify trading. So it's a very weird scenario for this A's team moving forward.
It is, because you don't know what to make of it and what the strategy is. Are they just, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot. Like if they're planning ahead for Vegas, are they cutting these guys loose? Because they're certainly not setting themselves up to be trade-worthy guys. I mean, this is a team that since June 14th, I believe is the date, they've lost 22 of 29. The ERA, Jeff, the last 36 days is 7.09. They're allowing 7.2 runs per game. They've given up 209 runs in 29 games. 62 home runs in 29 games. That's 2 home runs a game.
It's not good. Matt Hamilton joins us next.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas, ESPN Reno. Jeff Parles, Willie Ramirez, JD here as well. Now joining us, Matt Hamilton. You see him on Up and Adams over on FanDuel. Matt Hamilton 25 over on X. Hammer, it's good to talk to you, buddy.
Jeff, great to join you. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So I just want to start off here, go local here in Vegas. Obviously, new era, new head coach. new quarterback, not the rookie, but it is looking like it's going to be Kirk Cousins' gig for definitely the beginning of the year and quite possibly the whole deal. From an outsider's perspective, what are you looking to the most for this new era in Las Vegas for the Raiders?
I mean, listen, first of all, with the Mendoza news, I know there's a lot of people that didn't love hearing that, especially the Rappaport report, that he might sit the entire season. I've always been a proponent of being patient with quarterbacks, and I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that it really doesn't do any harm, and in most cases, I feel like it does a lot of good. And I think with Fernando's case in particular, he told us the last time we spoke to him on Up and Adams, we've had him on the show 3 times. The last time we had him on, he said to us that he's not totally comfortable being under center. And obviously, it was still early in the process. It was after a rookie mini camp. But it's something he's been working on throughout the process, and it's something he's still not totally comfortable with. When he ends up taking the field, you want him to be in a position where he's comfortable. You don't want him thinking about dropping back from under center. It needs to be habit at that point. It needs to be a routine thing. If that's something that is still, something he's working through, you certainly don't want to rush him out on the field. And it is something I don't view as a long-term concern. I know in the draft process it was something that was brought up repeatedly. It's something that it will become habit for him at some point, and he'll be fine. But it's something that he has to adapt to. And I think going at this, given where the Raiders are as a franchise, going at this with a patient approach is smart on Kubiak's part. Because, again, I think there's a lot of cases where you saw guys rushed out too early and it hurt them, and some of them have rebounded, like Sam Darnold, like Trevor Lawrence did this past year. But I don't think there's a single guy you look at that's sad, whether it's Mahomes or Jordan Love or whoever, and said, oh, it was a mistake. He wasn't out there right away. So I like that Kubiak's being patient there.
So, Matt, just looking at this offense as a whole, again, we're going with it. Looks like they're going with Cousins. We know that Genti, again, got hit behind the line of scrimmage a ton last year. Offensive line looks better on paper. Bowers fully healthy. But who's the third guy on this offense now? Is it a Jalen Naylor? Is it Trey Tucker? Is it Beck, or Betch, I should say? Is it someone that I may not be mentioning, or is someone completely off the radar at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think it's something we're all kind of wondering. I think the hope is that it's going to be Besh, given what he showed in college, given some of the flashes that we saw last year. It was hard. It was a hard offense to evaluate in some ways, especially that passing game with what went on at quarterback, with what went on with the offensive line, being such a disappointment last year. But I think that offensive line is going to be very much improved. Linderbaum, whatever you think about the price tag, he is as good a center as you're going to find in this league. And he's instantly going to make that line significantly better. And I think, just having more time, Cousins having more time in that pocket is going to allow these receivers to show a little bit more than what we saw last year. Trey Tucker's been impressive in flashes too. But I would expect Besh to be that guy. And I think, obviously it's crazy. I was looking at it for just what, Bowers, with all the frustration, with everything he went through, with the injuries and everything else, and, still, almost 700 yards and 7 touchdowns in 12 games with, again, offensive line issues, no run game, and quarterback issues. It's, I think he's going to have a monster bounce back year. But yeah, if he has a bounce back year, if Genti does better behind this O-line, I think he can get enough out of Besh that his offense is competitive this year.
Speaking with Matt Hamilton from Up and Adams, joins Jeff and Willie on Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas. All right, Matt, let's do a little rapid fire. 3 questions for you, and I want you to just give me a sort of a buy or sell off the statement. Let's go. A.J. Brown's arrival. The Patriots are set up for another Super Bowl run.
I'm selling on that one. I do think he'll help this offense take a step forward, but I think the level of competition is up. I think this defense still has some holes, so I'm selling that one.
Myles Garrett trade indeed makes the Rams the Super Bowl favorites.
I'm buying that one. I think with what they did with Miles, with the Trent McDuffie deal, there's no hole in this team right now. If you really want to poke holes, maybe the offensive line has some issues, but that team is just loaded top to bottom. I'm buying that one.
Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs, it's officially over. The dynasty has come to an end.
I am not buying that as long as number 15 is taking the field. I think, I think yes, some of the numbers have dipped, things like that. But when you really look at what he's done as this roster has declined and how competitive they've been because of him, I think, we're seeing a little turnover in the roster now. I think they had a really good draft. I think last year was kind of rock bottom, and they're going to retool a little bit. And as long as he's out there, he's going to keep them in that mix.
Matt, you Willie just led us into the question that I was looking forward to here. The AFC, we talked about last year. It's wide open. It's wide open. It's wide open. And this year, going into this with the question of how quickly is Pat Mahomes going to be healthy, and a new coach in Buffalo and a new coach in Baltimore, and the Bengals haven't been in the playoffs in a few years. This feels like a very confusing AFC. a little less than 2 months until we kick it off in that first week of September. Where are you looking to Super Bowl representative favorite out of the AFC? Who's that team for you right now?
It really is. It is a great. I think you can legitimately make the case for between 8 and 10 teams. Houston, if Stroud can get it together, that defense I think is one of the best defenses we've seen in 25 years. They're not a team I would sleep on. I think, as I said, the Chiefs are going to be in that mix. The one that's really intriguing to me, and I feel like they're getting slept on a little bit because people still have questions about the quarterback. The Broncos, I think top to bottom, we talked about the Rams being so complete. I think you put that Broncos roster as a whole up against anybody in the AFC. I think they have the best top to bottom roster. And they return, I think it's 20 of 22 starters that's including Jalen Waddle coming in as one of the two that's not a returning starter. So it is a loaded group. Waddle is going to make them so much better. And the question, if Bo Nix is able to take another step with Davis Webb calling the plays right this year, I could see the Broncos doing it. I really can. I think they would have been there last year if Bo didn't get hurt. If he's able to just take one more step forward, that roster is so loaded. I think they could do it.
Okay, you mentioned the AFC, and I get it. I'm kind of there with you with Denver in terms of where is this team? It's got the championship coach. It's but the Bengals, is Zach Taylor the issue? Should they have moved on? Or because I like Joe Burrow, and I think and I since the Raiders got here, I've become more fascinated by certain players that you don't get a chance to meet or interview that we've now gotten a chance to be in front of the podium with and talk to, or go in the locker room and talk to them and sort of just, even after a while, even if it's 5 minutes, I like Burrow. And the Bengals are always an intriguing group. What is this team going to do?
Yeah, I'm also a huge, huge fan of Joe Burrow's game. That offense is going to be, if everybody stays healthy, it's a top 3 offense in the NFL, no doubt. As for the Zach Taylor element of it, I
heard that.
It feels like it's run its course a little bit. But he does have the support of the players from what I've heard in that building. I think that's a big reason why they gave him another shot. And the other thing, personnel-wise, with some of the missteps there, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I don't care who's the head coach of that team or who's calling plays on that team with the way that defense looked last year. That was an abomination that they ran out there defensively. And I think that they're going to be significantly better there. If they're just average defensively, this is a playoff team and a team that's going to contend in the AFC with what they have on the offensive side of the ball. And I think the Dexter Lawrence move is going to be big, not just for what his presence means, both in run D and for their pass rush. His presence is going to open things up and help out everybody around him on that defense. But also, from what I've heard out of it, the mental aspect of them going out and making this move and getting them, they are so bought in and so amped up that their organization sent this message that they haven't sent to these players in a long time, that we're all in, we're going to go for it, we're going to push all the chips to the middle of the table and go for it. And that's something that really energized the guys in that locker room, from what I've heard. So I am in on the Bengals this year. If it doesn't happen this year, I don't know when it's going to happen.
It's gotta happen soon.
Yeah, it really does. I think they got maybe a 2-3 year window, but this feels like the year. They have to at least be a playoff team again. Otherwise, I think we're going to see some big changes.
Real quick to follow up on that. You said they have a 2-3 year window. Do the Bengals have a 2-3 year window, or does Taylor? Because I think Burrow has more than 2-3 years left in his life or his career.
Yeah, true. I think Taylor this year, if they're not a playoff team this year, I think he's definitely not. I think, but I guess the way I'm looking at it is if it doesn't work out with this iteration and with what's going on, is Burrow going to stick around there, or is that going to become a topic of conversation again? So that's kind of what I meant by that. But I'm with you. I think Burrow he's one of those guys. As long as he's out there, I'm a believer in what he's able to do.
Too much swag. Too much aura.
Matt, before we let you go, and this is a one-word answer from you.
Okay.
If the NFC champion is not the Seahawks or the Rams, who is it?
Oh, that's a good one, Joe.
Say it, Matt.
Good one.
Say it. Stars up, baby. Say it.
I'm honest. I think either the Packers, or I think that I know it's crazy. I think I'm finally bought into what the Cowboys have done.
Let's go!
It's not a one-word answer, but this is the first time in forever I actually believe in something the Cowboys are doing. I think the Christian Parker addition as DC and some of the things they've done on the defensive side of the football, really outside of the Micah Parsons trade and all that drama, the moves that they've made with this front office have actually been really, really freaking good over the last year. So I don't know. I know we got to see it from Dak in the playoffs, but I like the direction they're headed, and I really like a lot of things they've done this offseason.
Live from the Findlay Toyota Studios, it's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas. Jeff Parles, Willie, Ramirez. Big thanks to Matt Hamilton for hanging out with us at the end of the last hour. Our friend Caleb Herring will join us half hour from now, 5:30. A lot going on. Willie, we are 5 weeks away from UNLV Memphis. Wow. Doesn't feel like it, but time moving, and boy, that is... once that was on the schedule, we knew how big of a game that was going to be for UNLV, and we'll discuss that a little bit with Caleb Herring as well. And it was also Mountain West Media Days last week here in town, so we'll get Caleb's reaction to what went on in the new look Mountain West. I just want to piggyback on the last question we had from Matt Hamilton.
Okay.
Which, again, I would be very surprised, and it's the NFL, so surprises do happen. I would be surprised if the Rams or the Seahawks are not the representative out of the NFC. It's very hard to repeat. I think the Rams are set up beautifully. I think their roster, if Stafford is healthy, is as close to flawless as an NFL roster can be in 2026.
It's a championship core.
Yeah, it is. And also, by the way, last time the Super Bowl was in SoFi Stadium, Rams won it. We could legitimately get a rematch of Rams-Bengals from that Super Bowl at SoFi Stadium. That Aaron Donald
Bengals?
Yeah, that Aaron
Super
Donald
Bowl?
bailed him out at the end.
I have someone in my chat.
Big
right
Cincy
now.
guy, right?
Big Cincy guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked. Again, the AFC is so wide open. I wouldn't, like Matt said, I agree with him. I think there's 7 teams with a legitimate shot and 10 that you could at least make the argument for. But I asked Hammer at the end, if it's not the Seahawks or the Rams, who is that team that would be there? He mentioned the Packers, which I was surprised at because I think Green Bay has a better shot of finishing last in the NFC North than they do of making the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then the other one that he mentioned that got you all amped up, I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to be really good this year. And it really scares me going into a year because Dallas is always the hype machine team, right? They're always, this is the year they're going to bust through, but I think it's no nonsense. I think they're the second best offense in the NFL.
But it's the defense improvement that
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
That defense will be vastly better than it was a year ago. And I think Philadelphia is down.
I got to get new cowboy gear.
I'm not buying the Giant hype at all. Also,
right now.
did you see, speaking of the Giants, I was going to do this in grab bag, but I got to bring this up now.
All right.
Did you see Cam Scatabo at Fanatics Fest? Dude legitimately essentially broke his leg in half a year ago.
Yeah.
Not even a year ago. And the dude's doing backflips on the stage at Fanatics Fest. Look, and it's him who's obviously not the most intelligent guy to begin with.
What's Johnny Harbaugh thinking?
Well, I'm sure Harbaugh's thrilled. And also, it's interesting in that division because Washington's kind of forgotten now because they had the miracle run to the NFC title game 2 years ago, and then Daniels was just not healthy last year, and their defense regressed horribly. Maybe they're a little better. But, boy, I think the Cowboys have the chance. I think the Cowboys have a legitimate chance to be the third best team in the NFC. And, look, if you're the third best team in the NFC, Rams and Seahawks might have to play each other in the divisional round, in 1v5. Let them beat the snot out of each other, and then Dallas could be sitting there as the 2 seed and we might have the Seahawks in our own building or the Rams in our own building. Crazier things have happened, my friend. You imagine Dallas in an LA Super Bowl either, Willie? Woo.
Right next door.
Woo.
Right next to me.
There we go. Well, you're going to be there regardless, but you would
I won't be there.
You wouldn't cover the Super Bowl?
No, they would. So for AP, they did so when the Super Bowl comes here, I'll be part of the team because I'm on the ground.
Yeah.
So it's 2 less bodies that they're gonna have to pay for, hotel, flight, whatnot. But if I wanted to pay for transportation and hotel, I probably could get a credential from somewhere. But I'd have to pick up all my own expenses. But
you get a credential from here, probably.
I told you off. Well, yeah, I could. Well, no, I don't know. I said, hey, I'll help out this year or last year, and that didn't happen. But anyway, I told you off the air that I'm going to be starting some sports talk shows earlier in the day. Even if I'm on ESPN, so on TikTok, I'm going to be doing like a Monday morning quarterback show. I'm going to be doing probably a sports bet show similar to what we do Sunday at the Westgate, previewing the lines and whatnot. But I'm also going to be doing a collaboration with somebody out of Florida who does some sports betting writing.
Nice.
And we are in the planning stages. That's who's in the chat and is a Bengals fan. Can you imagine if we do this show that we're planning on TikTok and then my Cowboys and his Bengals meet in the Super Bowl?
Good luck.
That would be an incredible lead up those 2 weeks to the show. We would have to. We might have to go
You have to get tickets to the game. Forget going as a media.
No, forget the game. You just come here. Vegas is better than going in person. It's costly any way you go, but it'll cost more in LA than just to come hang out in Vegas.
So I will say this, and look, we're going to have a lot of NFL talk
He's
over the next few months.
He's sending tigers in my chat now without stars.
The AFC, and look, for Raider fans, and I've said this with Cofield already, there should be no expectations this year on the Raiders. If the Raiders go 4-13 and show improvement, so be it. Yeah. No problem.
Right.
No problem. Fernando learns buying Cousins for a year. You get a high draft pick again.
This got a free pass.
This is 100%. It's either, in all honesty, Willie, it's either win 3 or 4 games or make the playoffs. You don't want to be stuck in no man's land this year, especially with a draft where It's a loaded quarterback draft. The Raiders don't need a quarterback. Mr. Jeremiah Smith is going to be coming out. If you're picking high enough to get him, oh boy, wow. You imagine? That's a missing piece, a number one receiver on this team. And there's a lot of good defensive pieces, too, in this draft. Like, this is a good draft to be picking in the top 8. So, again, and there's only a few teams going into the year that I give no shot in the AFC. The Raiders and the Jets are and the Dolphins are the only, and I guess Cleveland, too. Those 4. 12 of 16 have a legitimate shot to make the playoffs. I think the Raiders are in the not legitimate, but hey, look, maybe Captain Kirk will find it again. But, again, I don't know if that's the best thing moving forward. All right, Willie. Let's circle back to the W here.
The dub.
First half or pre-All-Star.
Do we have a game on anywhere? No.
Are we
League Pass.
Are we Willie, are we calling it the first half or are we just calling it pre-All-Star break? What are we calling it?
I always feel weird calling anything the first half of the season, the second half of the season when we've already reached the halfway point.
Right.
So it's the last week before All-Star weekend.
So I'll ask you, because you asked this question of us before the show. Who is the best team in the W right now?
The best team in the W right now is the Golden State Valkyries. They're on an incredible win streak. They have the best defense in the league. They don't, in my opinion, have... I just wrote a column on which players could challenge Asia Wilson for the MVP. Do you realize that, in reality, there's nobody on the odds list for the Valkyries for MVP, but Gabby Williams is a lot of people's choice for Defensive Player of the Year? What that tells me is that this is a well-rounded group that is cohesive and not relying on one person. Anybody could step up, and it's always a team effort. Natalie Nakase won Coach of the Year last year, and for good reason. And right now, the Golden State Valkyries are the best team in the WNBA for consistency, defense, which turns into offense, and a number of players that can step up at any given time.
I think this 2-year run for this franchise to come into the league, and look, last year they had a win total of 9 or 8.5, depending on which book you looked at going in. And I know people who are a lot smarter than me are like, oh, how are they getting to 9? How are they getting to 10? How are you losing that bet on going under? They make the playoffs last year, and then they were kind of discounted this offseason again, right? Where it's like, all right, you know what? They had a nice run last year.
Yeah, or I don't know if discounted. They were just kind of like
they're there. They're like they're just like they're not a threat. They're all right. Maybe they were like they were last year, a 7 seed,
cast aside,
maybe a 6 seed, maybe if everything goes right, a 4.
Yeah.
And here they are with, look again, a Las Vegas Aces disciple at head coach, who absolutely should be Coach of the Year again. Now,
and by the way, sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
But let's not forget, one of the best defensive players to come out of UConn, one of the best defensive players in the league who couldn't care less about scoring, and also was part of the Aces championship culture. Kia Stokes is now a part of that team.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and 9-game win streak right now. They get the Mystics later tonight. A Mystics team you do
great
like.
team. I'm looking for. I can't wait to go home and watch that game.
So, I again, Willie, I don't know. Again, teams that have a little bit of a lack of offensive firepower concern me when we get to the postseason, because you can be amazing on defense. If you can't pack a little bit of a punch on offense, you could get stagnant when the defense gets more intense. And that scares me for a potential deep playoff run for this Golden State team.
Oh, it doesn't scare me.
But they are so good defensively. And look, I think for me, the answer to your question is still Minnesota, because they have done this without arguably the best player in the league. And they're the 1 seed. Olivia Miles has been unbelievable in her rookie season.
I got an answer for you, so go ahead.
And to me, I would still lean Minnesota, but it's kind of interesting where you look, the way these playoffs are shaping up right now, and we still got plenty of time left in the season, Willie.
Yeah.
But
halfway.
This is the one thing with this league. The top 7 are all very good. and you're going to go to 8. I'm not fully there on Washington, but by the end of the year, maybe they're a monster.
Let's not forget that Kelsey Plum is injured, and the Sparks could make a run.
Sure, 10-15 on L.A. right now.
10-15, that's 25 games.
Yep.
The Aces were 14.
2.5 behind the playoff spot right now.
Okay, forget about that for a second. The Aces were 14-14 last year at the 28-game mark.
Yeah.
And did what they did.
Now won the title. Yeah.
You're talking about having Asia Wilson, but that's a team that was missing Cam Brink, Kelsey Plum, but they have Nneka Ogwumike, championship caliber, Dearica Hamby, championship rings, right? So that's a team to watch out for to sneak into the playoff conversation. The one thing that worries me, we keep bringing up, well, Minnesota's doing it without Napheesa Collier. Mm-hmm. It's true. But what happens when they get her and the offense starts running through her? What happens to the impact Olivia Miles is having, and how much does she actually have at that point? What is her role then, and what is you know what I mean? I mean, so now her assist numbers come up, and she's driving kick to Napheesa. What? So I don't think that they get worse, but what Miles is doing is going to tail off because Collier is going to come in. And does it change the dynamic of this team? We are saying they're doing it without Napheesa, but it's an entirely different style of play possibly with Napheesa. Unless Natasha Howard is just duplicating what Napheesa is going to be. That's what remains to be seen. We have to see how things change when she's in the lineup.
The one thing I will say, though,
yes,
I think the biggest thing with Miles, if the role goes back a little bit, like the ball heaviness goes a little bit back, might not be the worst thing in the world because Olivia Miles has been going for 12 months straight by the end of the season, right?
100%.
And I would just wonder, all right, a lot of stress being the number one option in a WNBA team, especially as a rookie, right?
Right.
And a high-end WNBA team.
Well, come next month, in 2 weeks, she'll have been going for 12 months. Right. Because they realistically, they get back to school
August, yeah.
And then they're already starting to train.
Yep. So I actually think that might have a better effect on Minnesota where you're asking Miles to do a ton right now.
Yeah.
If you ask her to do a lot instead of a ton, that might actually be enough to keep her a little bit fresher than someone who by the end of the year will be going for 15, 14 months straight. Where do the Aces line up in this right now, Willie?
Real quick.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but the question wasn't who's the best team in the WNBA based on what's going to happen. You asked right now. And right now, Collier's not with them. I still say it's the Valkyries. But your point's well taken that with Collier, it's probably the Lynx.
I still think Minnesota and Golden State. Well, look, they're both on long winning streaks, along with Dallas right now, who
Dallas
is playing without
I
backers
hope Paige
tonight.
is okay after last night.
Yeah, she's out tonight.
Right.
They're about to start against the Liberty.
They're down 5-0.
Where do the Aces line up in all this right now? Well, right now and long term here, Willie. Where do the Aces line up?
It's hard to discount the Aces all the time. I think that they're still they're a top 4 team right now. Their defense, in a sense, probably makes them if you take in consideration the grade that we have to give them. I did a television show earlier today, and we gave out grades for where they're at to this point. I gave them a B-. Okay, and that's because when they're really good and they're doing what they do, and Asia Wilson's at the top of their game, they're crushing teams. But when you're losing by 20, 30 points, and last year you got a taste of a 53-point loss, and this year they've lost 30s, 40s, it's not good. That defense needs to be fixed. But they're a top 4 team. They're better than Atlanta. Yes, I know Indiana beat them, but if Indiana has Vegas's number, I don't know if I'm ready to put them in the top 4 simply because I don't know if Indiana's better than Dallas. I don't know if Indiana's better than Golden State. I think what Indiana had over the Aces in 2 games is fixable, and I still think the Aces could be better. So it's tough, but you're right because I'd say right now the top 6 are locked in, and that's Minnesota, Golden State. I'm reading in standings order, by the way. Lynx, Valkyries, Aces, Wings, Dream, Fever. The Liberty will come back at some point. I think that they have some internal personnel problems. I really do think there's some internal issues there. I am high on the Mystics because of the personnel there. I think it's a young squad that's hungry. The Fire are a strange team. They've beaten the New York twice. Toronto, I think, is banged up. The Sparks, I want to see what happens with Kelsey comes back. Chicago, I'm happy for Tyler Marsh. The offense has come around. The Mercury are a mystery. As talented as that team is, they were in the WNBA Finals last year. Connecticut, I think, has one foot out the door in going to Houston. And I think that Talia Rea, the GM for Seattle, is still wondering why she hired the coach that she did, because I think that team's lost.
Been an awful year up there in the Pacific Northwest for the Storm. Again, Fire first year, like you said, very interesting team for sure. With
I mean, you think about this Seattle team. This was a team that had championships with Breanna Stewart, Sue Bird, Jewel Lloyd. Then they see the transition as Breanna goes
east,
right? Sue Bird retires. They bring in Skylar Diggins and Nneka Ogwumike. They draft Nika Mule. Nika Mule's busted up the knee 2 years in a row now. Nneka's back in L.A. Skylar's in Chicago. Realistically, it's a brand new team with a brand new coach. I don't know when Seattle's going to come back. I really don't.
Willie, I want to shift gears here.
Okay.
Baseball-wise, second half underway.
Yeah.
Second half. Post All-Star break underway. Now he got me there. Look, the Boston Red Sox are. It's very strange for a Red Sox team that is always in the news to kind of fly under the radar a little bit. But I think the All-Star break kind of made this a little bit flying under the radar. Red Sox have Baker's dozen in a row now, 13 straight. They're winning tonight at home against the Orioles.
James's Orioles.
Remember, they fired Alex Cora in the middle of the night against these very Orioles earlier in the year. And look, they're 2 games over 500. They are only 4.5 games behind the Yankees for second place in the AL East. They are playing some great baseball. And Willie, I'll just say this. The American League is a joke so far this year. I don't buy Tampa, who has the best record. I absolutely do not buy that the White Sox are going to be able to do this for a whole 162. The Yankees have injury concerns. The AL West has one team that's over 500 and they're only 1 game over. The Guardians are the same as they've always been. Overachiever in the regular season, likely will fall off. Maybe win a playoff series, but nothing more than that. I think the Red Sox are alive. I think they're alive. Now,
you want some hot takes from the AL?
Oh, please. Look, if there's ever a league for hot takes, Willie, I'm all ears right now because I'm curious to where you go because there's one team that's currently well under 500 that I've heard at least 3 or 4 people tell me is worth a bet right now in the future market to win the American League.
To win the American League, not just the division.
Not just the division, even the whole American League. But I think I know where you're going here.
Well, I'm not going to Houston.
Nope, wasn't them.
I'm going to go to Motown.
That was the one.
Because when you got Tariq Schoolball, you got Casey Mize, you got a shot. And the Tigers have been doing it a little bit here with offense. You realize that they are 7 games under 500. They've won 7 of 10. They're at a 31 run, plus 31 run differential. If they can just shape up with games on the road, they're only 27 and 28 against teams above 500. The Red Sox, 50 and 48. You mentioned they're now 2 games over 500. 45 run differential. They're 29 and 21 away from home. So they're 21 and 27. You know that they're going to turn that around and start winning at home. So when that happens, this team is going to be dangerous. My hot take is that the Yankees are going to win the East. The Red Sox are going to come in second. Mm-hmm. The Rays might not even make the playoffs. The Tigers are going to make a run at the Guardians. And I do think that the Mariners are going to win the AL West. Where the rest shakes out, I don't know. But I think the Tigers are going to come out of nowhere the way the Red Sox have come out of nowhere. And I think the Rays are going to actually collapse and blow it. I like looking at run differentials this point in the year, especially with teams that are just around 500 or below, like the Tigers, 31 games or 31 runs above, and they're 7 games under 500. That tells me a lot because their offense is getting it done. And when you have those two pitchers, when you know, it's not like the A's, what we just talked about, right? This is a team that's minus 114 runs.
Yeah, not
20
good.
and 30 in Sacramento, 22 and 27 away. Pitching staff that's horrendous. Hitting a lineup that was once looked promising the first month, and now it's just tailed off. So there you go. I think the Red Sox and the Yankees do what they do best, and that's take over the AL East. But the team that I'm thinking is going to surge is the Tigers are just going to come out of nowhere.
You know, it would be.
The civil authorities have issued a fire warning for Enyakasiye, beginning at 5:06 p.m. Monday, July 20th and ending at 5:06 p.m. Tuesday, July 21st. Wildfire. Evacuation order in place for Aberdeen. Evacuate immediately. Duration unknown.
It was 12 and a half in the middle of May. It was 3 going into this weekend. It's still, or excuse me, it was 2. It's 3 because the Phillies lost 2 2 out of 3 to the Mets.
Is the NL East the best division in baseball?
No.
Okay.
No.
NL Central.
The NL Central is, but I don't buy the Nats. I really don't buy the Marlins. I think they were a luck box for a month.
Okay.
But I think the Braves are fine. They have a lot of injuries. That's the big thing. And the Phillies were so bad at the beginning of the year that the Phillies were always talented to just finally put it together after a really shaky start. The NL, look, I said this to Cofield last week. We know 4 teams and probably 5 that are going to make the playoffs in the NL right now. The Braves, the Phillies, the Brewers, the Dodgers. I would argue the Cubs as well. The Cubs are ahead of the Phillies, but I would say those 5 are going to make it. And we're playing for one spot between everybody else, which right now I would favor giving to Arizona, but I don't really like them that much. The Padres are a lead balloon right now. I don't buy either of those teams in the East that are around 500 in Miami or the Nats. The Cardinals have been a nice story. The Pirates have been a nice story. But a lot to be played for in that final spot. That's the most fun betting market there is to make the playoffs in the NL. Because you can get plus prices galore on all those teams that are in a race for the 6th seed. And if you just you throw the right dart, you end up with a nice little price in your pocket.
Well, it's 5:24 here. It's 8:24 in Florida, and my guy Dylan must be hitting the bottle because his hot take is White Sox win the AL Central, Dodgers take down the Rays in the World Series. Dylan, put the bottle down.
The White Sox still in first place in the AL Central right now, entering today's action. All right, when we come back, our good friend Caleb Herring will join us next. A lot to get to. UNLV, World Cup, NFL, and more here on Cofield & Company, ESPN Las Vegas.
Now back to Cofield & Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Cofield & Company, ESPN Las Vegas. Jeff Parles, Willie Ramirez. And now joining us is our good friend Caleb Herring, former UNLV quarterback. You'll hear him on broadcasts throughout the UNLV football season with our guy Matt Neverett. Caleb, before we begin, I have to kick it over to Willie Ramirez first for the first question to you.
Caleb?
If it's about the Cowboys, no.
It is not, actually. It is not.
Okay. Go ahead, Willie. Sorry.
Caleb, how many you have children?
Yes, I do.
How many?
I have 2, boy and a girl.
Have you taught them how to open a banana properly?
Okay, this is a trick question, Willie. What do you mean properly?
There's only one way to open the banana.
Okay, there's a way I open a banana.
How do you open a banana?
I've been told. Okay, so you know how the banana has like a curve?
The stem,
and the stem
at the top. Yes.
The stem kind of sticks up at the top?
Yeah.
So if you are trained in the technique, in the art of swift banana opening, you understand that if you put your thumb in the right spot at the base of that stem and flick the banana, like almost like throw it, but maintain control of the stem, you will pop the peel, and that first peel will come off. That's how I open my bananas.
Oh, this is even better than I was hoping for. Now
this
Caleb.
is a conversation.
This is even better. All right, Willie, go ahead.
So I will tell you a quick story here. When my son was little and we used to roam the gym at Durango and I was covering events, I could bring him and leave him to be watched by the only Lindy LaRock. And he would pal around with Lindy and Allie, and Bev, their mother, Al LaRock's wife, ran the concession stand. And she was like, does Jordan want some fruit? Okay, yeah. So one day he's sitting up on the counter and she pulls a banana and I go to grab it and she was like, Willie, what are you doing? And she said, haven't you noticed when you pull the banana, a lot of times the stem, like more times out of the night, you're sitting there struggling with it and then it splits and it's a real... So she said, just turn it over, pinch the bottom, squeeze it, and just pinch the bottom of it and pull back, and it'll always open. I've never opened a banana by the stem ever since, and he's now 30. That's like about 28 years.
So this is why I asked you before, what do you mean the right way? Because that's how monkeys open bananas. And I think they know how to open bananas better than us, if that makes sense.
Well, then
I'm not opposed to that method. Like, opening it from the opposite side of the stem, I've seen, like, if you hand a monkey a banana, they will flip it back upside down and peel it that way.
Well, then me and Curious George are on the same team.
So, yeah, that's one way. My way, though, is cooler. First of all, you look way cooler when you do it. And you can't have an overripe banana. It has to still have a little firmness to it.
The crisp, yeah.
Yeah, to make it like pop, right? But yeah, if when you do that in public, people turn their heads. They're like, "Hey, this guy's got aura." Like, I didn't know you can aura farm with the way you peel a banana, but I feel like that's what I do.
So this is kind of like it's kind of like a first date thing, especially if you have a gym date and you want to impress them, you go to the juice bar. You're like, yeah, let me get a peanut butter protein smoothie. Oh, let me get a banana too. Let me get that crisp ripe one. Yeah.
100%, it's a flex. Like, if you toss the banana too a little bit, like toss it to yourself, spin it around in your palm, and then pop it.
Aura.
You're getting a second date at least.
We don't even need to discuss UNLV. Let's just what fruit do you want to talk about next?
Oh man, you know what that went even better than I anticipated.
The banana segment.
That was perfect.
I'm coming up with a different fruit for tomorrow.
That was perfect radio right there. Caleb Herring with us right now here on Cofield and Company. All right, Caleb, it was Mountain West Media Days last week. What did you take away from it?
I think, first of all, it went well. I think the conference showed well. Presentation-wise, the Palms did a great job setting that atmosphere, getting the look, the aesthetic of, a conference that is serious and built bold, as you will, is the new conference slogan. So that's going to catch, right? It's going to catch. We have to make it catch. But I think the Palms did a great job hosting. I think introducing new schools to the conference with some exciting news over the past couple of weeks, obviously, with North Dakota State getting a lot of buzz coming up from the FCS and not having to serve that postseason, delay, whatever they want to call it, waiting period, was some big news. I think Commissioner Navarre did a great job of kind of changing the narrative to moving forward from the debacles. I think the last really 2 or 3 seasons have been kind of overwhelmed in the offseason by conference realignment and talks of what is to be. I think with the new Pac-12 or whatever it is finally being separated and everybody's moved on to the next step of their life, I think it's the appropriate time for the Mountain West to move on. I think this was kind of the welcome to the new age coming out party for the Mountain West. The new trophy, the new logos, the new branding that's going on, all that stuff was great. It was great to hear from, like I said, the new coaches and to see what this conference will look like going forward with the Mountain West kind of making Las Vegas a headquarters and everything like that. It's exciting. I think it was an exciting time, and I think it was well done by the Mountain West Conference.
What did you think of what Dan Mullen had to say?
Well, the thing is, I love when a coach is consistent, and I think the hype and the expectations from the outside haven't changed the tone. I remember sitting after Dan Mullen's introductory press conference, Cofield and I got him on the airwaves right after that. And he said the same things then that he's saying today, which is the goal as a team for me as a head coach is always to be better at the end of the year than you were at the start of the year. And I think that's been consistent. I think he talked about things like recruiting and what he envisions and what he tells recruits when they come. And you got to believe him when he says that, when he's that consistent with his thoughts over things like that. And I think his expectations are that they will be a better team than last year. He touched on a little bit how kind of they were scrambling, especially defensively with, the late defensive coordinator change in the spring, all that kind of stuff. And now he feels like year two, there's people at least core people who are important to what the Rebels want to be, who are returning. And now their second year and have, a head start on install or what the next level of knowing the offense or the defense will look like that will naturally kind of make them improve. And then obviously roster improvements as well. So I think he's excited. His expectations are set high for what they should be able to do. The 3 conference championship appearances, I think, is a big deal for him and what they see themselves being as a legitimate contender. And he talked about even future scheduling and making sure that the program continues to schedule, not just, go take losses to big programs, get paid and all that kind of stuff, but to schedule to be winners, to be players in the conference or the national landscape at the end of it, potentially with CFP stuff. So I think his expectations are aligned with where they want to be and where they should be coming into year two. And we'll see if there's any sort of regression to the mean with UNLV after that first year's success. But I think they have the right expectation, and Dan Mullen, I think, is leading them in the right way.
Former quarterback of the UNLV Rebels, Caleb Herring, and now, of course, voice and part of the broadcast team of the UNLV football Rebels. Caleb joining us here on ESPN Las Vegas. Cofield and Company with Jeff and Willie. All right, Caleb, when you think about a coach coming into his next season and the improvements the team has to make, what do you think the improvements that he has to make as a coach from last season?
I think as a coach, first of all, I've never been a coach, and I don't. The amount of responsibility a head coach has, particularly, is enormous. And there's so many things that probably could be nitpicked on, and I'm not one to sit there and tell another man how to do their job. But I would say one of the apparent things that everybody kind of consensus agreement across Rebel Nation was the discipline factor. And I think that probably, and he would probably agree to this, probably falls on the head coach more than anybody else. And obviously position coaches, everybody has a hand in the discipline. Culture in the locker room, players even have a hand in what that looks like on the field between the lines, like in terms of the penalties and jumping off sides. And, I always, one of the toughest games to call, or frustrating to watch as a broadcaster, I'm sure maybe even more frustrating as a coach, was that game up in Ohio where it's like, hey, we're jumping off sides 5 times in a row. It becomes a part of the opponent's game plan to just do a hard count. We're gifting them 5 yards. Those kind of things I think need to be eliminated. Obviously, defensively, they gave up a boatload of points in a lot of games. Fortunately, their offense was strong enough to overcome that. So you want to be a little bit more balanced in the way you can win. Like if you can win in a defensive struggle every now and then, that would be great. But I think those are the kind of things that you want to improve on year-to-year basis. And I think the head coach probably takes the brunt of that responsibility and making sure those things are right. But it is done by committee, right? Everybody has to buy into that being a priority, and discipline, I think, is one of those things on the field that I think would probably need to be improved first and foremost if I was in the Rebel camp.
Caleb, North Dakota State got a lot of love in their first Mountain West media days as well. It just, to me, it just feels like it's going to be so difficult for them, as powerful as they were at the FCS, to come in and be a legitimate title contender in year one in the Mountain West.
It is going to be very difficult. I think, it's one thing to, and it was even mentioned during some of the interviews. I think Coach mentioned it himself. He said that it's one thing to be, come every once in a while and beat an FBS opponent. Every so often get an FBS opponent on the schedule and come beat them. But week in and week out, and what is a competitive conference? I mean, the Mountain West isn't a Power 4 or whatever the number is now conference, but it's always been a very competitive conference. The teams play hard, and obviously with the teams that are left, there's still some teams that have national contention in mind by the end of this, and especially with New Mexico coming on the rise and UNLV doing what they're doing. Hawaii is always a tough out. So these kinds of things on a week-to-week basis for their team may be a little bit of a different challenge. And then also for the last 20 years or so, really, they've been the top dog, whether they won the championship or not. I think 10 of the last 15, they've won the championship. But they've always been in the conversation for top dog where they were. It's going to be different week in and week out, having to get hype for the games. I mean, that's when you're not the favorite, when you don't have that confidence stepping between the lines necessarily. You can get it. I'm not saying that they won't have it. I think they will, but there's the potential for a little bit of the nerves under the lights, if you will, to get to them in a way that they haven't experienced over that course of time, over those last 20 years. So we'll see if that's the case. I don't doubt that they're good enough to compete in the conference, but I think there is a little bit of unrealistic expectations on how quickly they can adjust to what FBS is. And I think they're the most FBS-ready FCS team that there was to pick from. And a lot of it is because of style of play. But we'll see how it fares. I've said last week I would not be shocked if they are in contention for the conference championship game. I would not be shocked by that at all. I don't think that that's as likely as maybe the bookmakers have made it out to be, but I think it is a possibility, and we'll see how they adjust to the big lights of the Mountain West.
Caleb Herring with us right now here on Cofield and Company. Caleb, you enjoyed the World Cup?
I did, and I've said this. I'm not a soccer guy. That's not my sport, and I'm not going to pretend that I have been. There's some phonies out there who are all of a sudden soccer experts. But I enjoyed watching the fandom around it. I enjoyed what Northern American host nations did in terms of making this an enjoyable experience for everybody. I never felt, ashamed of the fact that I wasn't a soccer guy watching. It was very educational in a sense, which I enjoyed thoroughly. I think this tournament, and maybe the World Cup in itself, is probably the best tournament. Like every 4 years or whatever, it's the best sporting tournament playoff style bracket that you can have. The way that it's set up, the way that it's done, the entire world watching, it's one of the best, if not the best, right? But this year in particular, the storyline, just following it more intently because it's in North America, the coverage was amazing. To all those stations and broadcasters that participated, they did a great job. But I would say that the storylines, the Messi GOAT discussion on the line, Mbappe, the rematch potential, like watching that kind of develop, Argentina versus France, will it happen or won't it? That fizzling out. The top four teams ending up being there at the end with the names and the star power to make you interested, with Bellingham and Messi and Yamil and Mbappe. All these names were all there at the end, which is what you wanted to see and what you really want in any tournament. I think that was important. So I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I'm glad also that the back end of it. I know places have had to go out of their way to for the infrastructure part of hosting such a thing. I don't think the United States, at least, and really any other host nation throughout the tournament, will have that kind of desolation afterward, where they had to build this massive stadium or this massive area to host the Olympics or the World Cup, and then afterwards it's just useless. So I think the infrastructure that we have allows us to really just enjoy the benefits without the downside of it on the back end. So that's also factors in. But it was a great time to watch the World Cup.
One more for you, Caleb. Will LeBron make a decision today, tomorrow, or in 3 weeks from now?
LeBron will make a decision when he feels the drama has dissipated. And once we stop talking about it, he'll make a decision. I think I'm over, his need to be the center of attention. Make the decision so we can all move on with our lives. Because he's going to dominate the news cycle until he does. And I think he enjoys that too much. And I got to say he deserves to enjoy it a little bit. But for me, I just want to know what the season's going to look like. Can we get this schedule? Can we know who's going to be playing on Christmas Day so I can know how deep I'm dipping into my savings to go watch, right? Like, can we do that? The common man wants to know which games he can afford and which games he should probably skip out on. So please, LeBron, just make the decision this week.
Does LeBron know how to open a banana?
He 100% doesn't open his own bananas. I think when he arrives to eat fruit, it's already peeled, sliced, slightly chilled, and drizzled with granola and yogurt. So that's how I see LeBron's life.
Good answer.
Caleb Herring, UNLV, a former UNLV quarterback. You'll hear him all football season long on UNLV football broadcasts, him and Matt Neverett. Getting you ready. 5 weeks away. We're almost there. Week 0 against Memphis, a big one to kick it off for the Rebs this year. Caleb, thank you as always.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Caleb Herring, everyone. All right, grab bag when we get back. Cofield and Company.
Cofield and Company presents Grab Bag on ESPN Las Vegas.
Stick your hand in there, dude.
Cofield and Company wrapping things up here on a Monday. Same combo back tomorrow will be Willie and I here on Tuesday as well. And James will be here as well. Big thanks to Caleb Herring, Matt Hamilton, Steve Kim for hopping on with us today. Look, sometimes you go into the grab bag and you grab. Sometimes you squeeze, Willie Ramirez. And a woman in Florida got a pretty wild license plate that I was shocked was in circulation in the state of Florida, in all honesty.
And she didn't, it was distributed to her.
Yeah.
She didn't plan it. SQZ A55. So nearly 77 years old. Didn't think anything of it. And all of a sudden, she's getting all this unexpected paid attention. According to CBS News Miami and KBTX, Dello Stritto, it said her sons and their friends have also encouraged her to keep the plate, but people are starting to people were reaching out in her community, her retirement community. They were offended.
Offended?
From my understanding, they felt it was out of line.
Oh, come on.
Squeeze.
That would be
ass.
That'd be grab booty in another way.
SQZ A55.
Yeah.
I got approval from the guy who does the dump button. So SQZ A55. That is the license plate of that might be the license plate of the year.
That sounds like the people being mad in the community. I'm just going to pull from Seinfeld here, where everyone moves down to Del Boca Vista just to enforce the rules.
Yeah.
After living their whole lives, that's kind of what that feels like to me. That, in all honesty, I'm surprised with that story. Started making waves over this weekend.
She had the best quote.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can handle it if I get a few honks here and there. Actually, being over 70, I might like a few honks.
That's such a good quote. That's so good. Yeah. That's so good. See, we need to laugh every once in a while, right? It's tremendous. Honestly, amazing.
She definitely opens a banana the right way.
Tomorrow on the show, we'll have more fruit breakdowns. Yeah. See if Willie can teach me how to cut a watermelon correctly tomorrow.
Either that or we'll go over kiwi.
Ooh. That's something I haven't had in a while. Thank you to everyone listening. James, thank you. Willie, thank you. I'm Jeff Parles. See you tomorrow on Cofield and Company.
We out.